Okay, so we are going to be looking at our assignment that we are going to be working on today and tomorrow, and you guys will need to have this done for Thursday. So the assignment is who's the culprit? During class, we have talked about different events leading up into World War II. We've covered the rise of the different dictators within some European countries. We've talked about the policy of appeasement. We also talked about the policy of opportunism and isolationism. And so with your knowledge of all these events and everything that leads up into World War II, you're going to be expected to compose an argument ranking the culprits of World War II. And so here is the prompt that you have for this activity. So it says, rank the following nations in order of their culpability for the outbreak of World War II. Great Britain, the Soviet Union, Germany, and the United States. And so through this activity, you are going to rank those 4 countries in order of most to blame for World War II to least to blame for World War II. And you are going to have to defend those rankings as we go through this activity. The project is kind of spaced out into 3 different things. First of all, you will be filling out a graphic organizer. I'll be talking about that graphic organizer here in a little bit as we go through the instructions. The second thing you will have to do is, once you filled out that graphic organizer and gotten your argument put together, you are then going to create a political cartoon that displays that argument. So that's the second thing you have to do. Graphic organizer, then political cartoon. And I have some examples of political cartoons later. Then the third thing, in which moves on to the activity part of the instructions here, you guys are going to be doing a speed discussion in class. And so you can see, or you will see a picture here in a second of the speed discussion. You're essentially like facing someone, and like it's kind of like speed dating, but you're going to be discussing your rankings and talking about the political cartoon that you have made. The point value for this is your graphic organizer will be worth 15 points, your political cartoon will be 25, and your participation in the speed discussion will be 10 for a total of 50 points. Everything has to be ready when you walk into class on Thursday. Okay, everything has to be ready. So today, you guys need to focus and get your graphic organizer done. Tomorrow, then you'll have the whole day to do the political cartoon. And then Thursday, you guys will be ready for the speed discussion then. Okay, so you are going to see, this is the graphic organizer that you guys need to look at completing today in step 1. You can see it's divided into 4 sections. We have the United States, we have Germany, we have Great Britain, and we have the Soviet Union or Russia. And so you guys are going to need to come up with 3 reasons on why they could be blamed for the start of World War II. 3 reasons why they could be blamed for the start of World War II. Okay, so you need to make sure that is all filled out. You will have to turn that in, and that is part of your grade. You can see on this next slide here, I've given you some different examples, but not using the countries that you guys are going to use, because you guys need to figure that out on your own. But you guys have different examples for Japan, Italy, and France. You can see part of it is they put the type of foreign policy. So on the France column, they have appeasement. Hopefully you guys remember what appeasement is when you guys learned about it yesterday. And so number 1, France did not intervene when Germany violated the provisions of the Treaty of Versailles. And so they didn't do anything. Okay, that was one step in the wrong direction. Then you can see gave into Hitler's demands for the Sudetenland, a German-speaking region in Czechoslovakia, as part of the Munich Pact. That's another reason why they could be blamed, right? Because they didn't stop him. They just let him do what he wanted to do and gave in to the aggressor, and that foreign policy is known as appeasement. Then you can see we have Italy and Japan. Let's talk about Italy. And so, like number 1, Mussolini led a fascist takeover by Italy, or in Italy, a country weakened by economic and political instability. So he, is the one that kind of like started this fascist movement, in which Hitler is also going to adopt fascism as well too. Number 2, he invaded and conquered Ethiopia and started to be an aggressor within the world, so they can be seen at fault for them. You can see that the policy that they're kind of putting them at is opportunism. They're doing whatever is best for their country. So you guys are going to do this on your graphic organizer, and make sure you have 3 reasons for each one, and you'll get full credit for that. So once you're done with that, you can go ahead and turn that in, and so you won't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, after you have completed the graphic organizer, you guys are then going to look to create your political cartoon. Remember, your political cartoon is displaying what you think the order is for who's the most to blame for World War II. Now, you're not just going to like draw the countries and say, this is my order. You want to be creative. You want to kind of make a play off of something, something that you think of when you think about this whole situation. So for the cartoon, it needs to be on a blank sheet of white paper. Please do not use lined paper. I want nice sheets of white paper, which I have for you in class. They're on the counter. But you must use the whole full sheet of paper. And you want to fill that thing up as much as possible with color or just, being bold and so forth. It must be hand-drawn. I do not want anything with technology. I do not want Photoshop. And I do not want stick figures. Some of you guys might be like, oh my gosh, she expects me to draw. Yes, I do expect you to draw. Not so much grading you on how well can you draw, but more so the idea and the concept behind the political cartoon. A lot of kids worry when I say that, but you guys can find clip art online and use that clip art and trace it to put it in your political cartoon. I am okay with that. So if you find I can't draw a person, you find little clip art cartoon guys and you want to trace that on your cartoon, that's totally fine. I've had kids do that multiple times. Next thing, it needs to be colored. You can use markers, colored pencils. I have thin point Sharpies. I'll put them out on my desk and you guys could use those if you need them. But try not to use pencil. I know you might use it to originally draw it, but outline your stuff in black. It just looks better. It needs to have a caption or a saying or a title or some sort. So either a title or something that the little guy is saying in the cartoon. Needs some sort of words on there as well too. And then on the back of your cartoon, and kids usually forget about this, so please don't. On the back of your cartoon, you need the title of the cartoon, and number 2, a paragraph explaining your cartoon and what are you trying to say through this cartoon. The whole thing doesn't have to be one big drawing. I've had kids do comic strips before, like you would see in the newspapers. So you could do that. You could have multiple panels. You can do a little bit of research in class, but I would recommend, what does this remind you of, and base your cartoon off of that. You have the rest of, you'll have all of Wednesday to work on this, so make sure you use your time wisely, and everything will need to be ready for Thursday. So I wanted to show you guys a couple examples. One of the examples I wanted to show you was the 3 little pigs, and so you can see here they have the three little countries. And they have, the 3 little countries that are the little pigs down at the bottom. They're just trying to escape the big bad wolf. And she decided to have the big bad wolf be Germany. And so that's showing, they're picking on the little other ones. And the main aggressor was Germany. So this next one here is showing Hitler has the Treaty of Versailles in his hand. He's about to throw it in the trash. And the other 2 little countries are like, oh no. That's fine, do whatever you want, we just don't want to start a war. You can see those 2 little countries are Great Britain and France. That's another example of what someone has done. The last example I think is really cool because it involves all the countries and it shows their part to it. It's a car crash, and so the whole thing's just chaotic anyway, just as the beginnings of World War II were. And, the first one's Germany's well, we don't want to pay for that, and Great Britain's oh, well, we'll pay for it, just don't start a conflict. And the Soviet Union then is well, maybe I should be doing something to help, And then the last one's the United States is, and they're just oh, we just want to stay out of it, don't involve us. And so they've depicted it that way. So all those are really creative ways to do political cartoons. You can see it doesn't outright say, Germany's my number 1 through the cartoon, or it doesn't say, Germany doesn't have to be your number 1. I've had kids choose Great Britain. I've had kids choose the Soviet Union. I've had kids choose the United States. It's whatever you feel is best. There's no right or wrong answer as long as you can defend your stance. But it doesn't blatantly say your order. They've interpreted it into a creative vision. Now, my disclaimer over everything is, please do not copy another cartoon on the internet. That is taking someone's work, and that is known as plagiarism. If you try to go trace a Dr. Seuss cartoon and give that to me and say, that is my political cartoon that I created, I'm going to say, sorry, no, that's a 0. That's not the political cartoon that you created. That's what Dr. Seuss created. So I have kids every year do it. So please do not go steal cartoons off the internet and say, oh, this is it. I am giving you permission to use clip art images for, like, if you can't draw something really well, to help you draw. But you're not taking the idea away from the political cartoon. Okay, there's a difference between the two. Stealing someone's idea and getting help with drawing are two separate things. So that wraps everything up for the project. Graphic organizer first, political cartoon second. Be ready for the speed discussion on Thursday. I'm excited to see what you guys create. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can email me and I will get back to you as soon as possible. My email is up on the whiteboard. So have fun.